This presentation is on musical form. Form has to do with how a composer structures a piece of music. The problem with hearing musical form is that it's not all mapped out right in front of you. You have to sit and listen to a complete piece of music in order to hear how it's put together. So it's really important that you become familiar with a piece of music. To hear form really requires familiarity and musical memory. Wright defines form as the purposeful organization of the artist's materials. And you can also think of it as how the musical work is structured or shaped. I'd like to go through some of the things that create musical form. Here we are inside the elements of music, this part on form. This slide shows you some things that create form: repetition, contrast, variation, and recurrence. Let's take a look at this. Repetition is really important in music because it helps establish familiarity. So when you have an idea, for example, let's say it's a piece that has a flute playing the melody. Let's say they're playing staccato. Let's say they're playing in a major key and the pace is moderate, and let's say the basses are playing pizzicato along with them. Once you hear that, you kind of listen for what's going on, and then you hear it again, your brain says, oh, I've heard that before. Okay. And you get some kind of a feeling of, it becomes more meaningful when it's familiar. Too much repetition, well, things can stick in your head. We need additionally a feeling of contrast. So let's take a look at that. This is represented by these green boxes here. Not only are they a different shape, but they're also a different color. So it could be maybe there's a change in instrumentation. Maybe the trumpets have the melody. Maybe it goes into a minor key. Something's different. Contrast is really important because we need to have this kind of variety, especially if we're telling a story. If we have too much contrast in a piece of music, it can feel pretty unsettling, like the bottom is dropped out. Variation is kind of in between repetition and contrast. You can see that there are circles, which are similar to the first slide, but they're different colors. So this is a way of taking an idea and repeating it, retaining certain features but changing others. Or for example, you might hear a great melody that's played by let's say an English horn, and then you hear it again played by the trumpet, and then you hear it again played by the viola. Variations actually exists as a type of form in itself. It's either called variation form or theme and variations. Here's a visual for you. You may recognize the artist. These are painted by Claude Monet, the famous French impressionist. Maybe more popular are his water lily paintings. He also did a series of haystacks in different kinds of weather and light. These are, you notice, these are the same subject matter. This is the Rouen Cathedral. There are about 25 different versions of this, and you can see that the biggest variation we have here is in color. So imagine that you have a whole orchestra and you have a great melody in your head. One way of getting a longer piece out of your idea is to have that idea repeated over and over again, and then change, the instrument, for example, that plays that melody. So that is a type of variation. Of course, you can also change the tempo or the mode. You might go from a major key to a minor key. You might change the texture. You might change the register the melody is played in. This is the roadmap for theme and variations form. Theorists like to label musical ideas. The capital A here refers to not just a phrase but an overall section. So A, first letter of the alphabet, is what you would choose. This is really I think the easiest form to understand. This is variations form. And you see that A keeps coming back. Every time it comes back, there's a little prime sign. That should be a prime sign. I had to use the apostrophe. But every time it comes back, there's something different about it. There are certain features that are retained and certain features that are changed. This is another really common form. This is called ternary or ABA form. Pictured here is the Cathedral of Salzburg in Austria. This is such a great visual. You've got these spires on either end that is perfectly balanced, and then here in the middle you have this contrasting B. This would be the dome. So mapped out here is a visual for ABA form. ABA is also known as a rounded binary because you have idea A contrasting idea B, and then it rounds off by bringing back A. You don't need to worry about that being called rounded binary form, but that's also referred to that. So we're going to go to the active listening guide for Dance of the Reed Pipes and listen to this famous movement from Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker Ballet. Before I play this, I want to point out that this capital A here, you're going to hear contrasting sections within it, but you can think of them more as phrases that contrast with each other. You'll notice that there's still an overall feeling of that you're in the same section. What I want you to listen for is when you get to section B, what is it that makes it sound really different? And then, of course, listen for the return to the flute melody. Just in case you were wondering, no, Tchaikovsky did not write in the part for the barking dog. Sorry about that. Listed here are some other types of forms. We've gone over three-part form and theme and variation form. Strophic, rondo, and sonata form we'll be getting into more detail with us later in the semester. But for now, please study the listening guides in Chapter 6 because you will be asked to identify some of these forms on the test. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks a lot.